All right. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Neftali Mercedes with Cause of Capital, the capital champion, and it is my pleasure, honor, and enthusiasm to welcome you to another production of Grants by Cause of Capital. Tonight, we have an enormous treat, a high value, very high impact session prepared for you that I am hoping with all of my good wishes and positive energy will affect, that you will absorb, take out into the world and affect your fundraising and capital finding efforts in your companies, in your non-for-profits, in whatever your mission, vision, purpose is, whether you are an individual looking to cause enormous impact on earth through whatever your calling is, to a much more organized and complex organization, to a small business who has no idea why it is that all of the big guys, why is it that Intel, NVIDIA, Taiwan Semi are getting billions upon tens of billions of dollars in grant funding from the federal government and plenty of help? And the small business owners seem to be left out in the dust. I will tell you that that is not the case. We would not be able to form and sustain the grants department at Capital Gains if it weren't for the availability of all of this assistance and opportunity for small business owners and people in the nonprofit space that are looking to go out there and make a deep impact on the world in a positive way. And who better to show us that there is indeed a grant for everyone, a grant for every calling, every mission, vision, purpose, than our very esteemed instructor this evening, Megan Pater. We'll get to her in a moment, but guys, you are in for such a treat. We say here at Cause of Capital that we stand to shatter any illusion that anything can get between your dreams and your goals. And we want to restore your certainty to the fact that you are the cause of capital. That is our mission. That is our purpose. And with these webinars and workshops and masterclasses, we bring that purpose to bear by disseminating this information in as clear, concise, and free a manner as we possibly can. We are not holding back anything from you tonight. We are giving you a cross-section of a large canon of content that is geared towards your success in fundraising and capital finding, whether in business or through your mission, vision, purpose. And without further ado, someone who it is my deep pleasure to introduce to you guys, because from the moment I met this person, I speak to a lot of people in the fundraising dimension. But from the moment I spoke to this person, the level of passion that seeps through her voice and the way that when she gets after an idea, it is a sight to behold. It is like on a particular idea because it doesn't stop. And every 10 minutes, she gets 5, 10, 20 more ideas until the problem is solved, until the opportunity is effected. Our esteemed instructor, she sparkles with the brilliance of a perfectly cut gem. She is a certified gemologist, surprisingly, but a verified badass. Megan transforms challenges into triumphs. After navigating her own difficult journey as a birth mom, Megan founded Birth Mom Buddies, an organization that provides resources and mental health support for a community of birth mothers nationwide. But her impact doesn't stop at advocacy. Through her innovative company, Fund Nation, she turbocharged the fundraising efforts, raising over $3 million for various nonprofits in just the trailing 12 months. Guys, you are in for a treat. Please help me welcome the queen of collaboration, Megan Pater. Megan, good evening and welcome. Man, we've waited, it's been a long 3 weeks leading up to this event. I'm very happy it's finally here. Please tell us, how do you feel? What's present for you today?
I'm great. I'm excited. So I'm ready to jump in, but we don't have a lot of time and I have a lot of stuff.
Okay, I can imagine. So without further ado, walk us through just from a 5,000 foot flyover. What is it that we're about to learn today? And then, feel free to get right on into it.
Okay, so pretty much I'm just going to go over why I've been successful, which is my strategy and my partnerships and the grant calendar and paying attention to it. So knowing when to apply for what and being able to line up your whole year so that you don't go without funding. Like every month you'll have some type of funding.
That is phenomenal. And I'm pretty sure there's everyone is sitting at the edge of their seats, because who wouldn't want to know how to get the bills paid and everything funded around here year round. So that is, we can't wait to get into that. So yes, without further ado, walk us through. First of all, who do you feel grants are for, Megan? This was a very telling thing when we first met.
Yeah. Grants are for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it more strongly, but like grants are for everyone and anyone. If you have a mission, even if you don't have a mission, if you're thinking about a mission, could possibly have a mission later in life, there's a grant for that. I think there is a grant for everything across the board. Like there's silly grants. There's like stuff there shouldn't be grants for. There's grants for that. So there's a grant for everything you're doing. There's a for-profit, nonprofit, personal, individual grants, everything. There's a grant for everyone and everything.
Beautiful, beautiful. I can't wait to get into it. Please, Megan, take it away.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay. The only reason I'm really stuck on strategy is because it gives me my year, and I don't like knowing where my next paycheck is coming from my organization, because I'm freaked out about losing my organization for some reason. But that's just my own weirdness. So, but like I have very, 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 I started paying attention to how the rhythm of grants work, and there is a rhythm. So if you're paying attention to that kind of thing, you can actually set it up so that your organization is funded throughout the whole year, into the following year. You're setting yourself up. If you're paying attention in January to financial organizations, banks, they're doing their audits, they're getting their whole thing worked through, so they're not going to open up their grant cycle until February. That you're going into things with strategy like that. You're not going to start talking to them about grants until they open their portals, but you're going to start working on those relationships back in November. So really your grant year starts in November, when the fiscal year ends for the government in October 31st, I think it is. That's when your next year of grant cycle starts. So you need to start working on relationships and building those relationships out with financial institutions, asking for volunteers from financial institutions, because that's how you get on those invite grants, things of that nature. So you want to stick with kind of, there's a rhythm to it. First, it's going to be your financial institutions. February they open, March they end. Then you're going to have it'll be foundational grants between March and April. May, they're getting ready for federal grants, because that fiscal year is ending in June. So we start seeing more procurement happening. That's your time to ask for vehicles. Any type of the school year is ending. So if you need like a bus or something for your organization, that's the time to then approach the Department of Education in your city or your town to say, hey, listen, we need a bus, before it gets on that auction block, because you don't want it to go it's better for them and it's better for you, because you're not competing with anybody. They can just donate to you, and it's so much more straightforward and easy to go with. And it's just easier. So they are willing to do that. So just talk with people, start relationships. And that is my main actual thing, is relationships building, because I can count on those relationships every year.
So just to point out something you just said, and it's important because it's timely. You're saying now in the May month, in general, the fiscal year is closing out for who exactly? Who's closing out their fiscal year now?
June 31st is like if you're a nonprofit, your fiscal year ends either December 31st or June 30th.
Yeah.
Is it 31st? No, 30th. Okay.
Yeah, June 30th, end of second quarter.
Yeah.
So this is coming up now. And what you're saying is, in terms of procurement for things like equipment and in-kind grants, these companies, they flush out their balance sheets. Obviously, they're afraid that if they have excess capital, it'll be taken away, or the next funding cycle, they'll be reduced. So they try to get everything off the books.
Yeah, but if they haven't given away all their money, then they're not going to get the same amount of money back. Like that's the whole point. It's kind of like how grants, we get more grants, contracts, we get more contracts. Same kind of thing for them. It just goes up the little totem pole. But it's mostly like police departments. They're turning over their vehicles in June. Schools, everything that ends kind of like the end of the school year, that kind of thing. They all don't go into the next school year with the same stuff. They're turning over their computer systems. They're turning over, especially the military, is turning over their computer systems, and they don't have anything to do with those, except they just go back into this little like surplus thing and go and stored. So if you're asking for them ahead of time and they know that you want them, when that happens, they're more inclined to be like, hey, we got these here. We've got a whole pallet. Come pick it up. And be prepared for that, though, if you're asking, because a lot of times people aren't. Be aware that that will happen and it will happen for you. So have a place to put them.
Absolutely. Now, who does one, let's say I'm in, does it vary by state? If I'm looking for this type of funding and I want to capture this opportunity specifically, I may be a charity or an organization that does need a vehicle. Who would I call? Where would I turn first? How would that work out in terms of a plan? You said procurement, and I know the Office of Procurement is an actual government institution in many, even moderately sized cities and towns. I know Westchester County has several procurement offices, and the Office of the
They're gonna,
Purchaser, the county buyer, if you will, is
they're
known
gonna
as
have too many
procurement.
rules. You want to get away from that. They're gonna have too many rules and they're gonna make you go through the auction. So
Okay.
it's best to get, before they get to that point, you want to ask the police department, ask for their procurement officer that is like in charge of that kind of thing, of pulling the vehicles and like the whole vehicle like fleet. So you want to talk to them and go in there first, because if they want to donate something, they can, and that counts better for them and your organization, because like they get the write-off, they don't have to deal with like a lower cost, they're going to get the full amount of that write-off. So it makes sense for everybody.
Not to mention the
And you
dog
just
and
gotta
pony show
sell
of
it like
getting
that.
everything to the actual auction. That's fascinating.
Right.
There it is,
Yeah.
your
Oh,
first
yeah.
bomb of the
We're,
evening, in my opinion.
we're blockading that. But
Very
yeah, if
good.
you need a cop car, that's where you're gonna go. But like that's a lot of the Fords nowadays and the SUVs, so that they are valuable for people who are especially doing transportation stuff. So medical transportation, all that stuff. Camps, any type of summer camp, if you want school buses, this is the time. So
And
um
what other sort of highlights of the calendar throughout the year are coming up? Let's say after this particular fiscal year end, what are some of the future? I know you mentioned November as when governments start to whittle down, and then they end their year December. Obviously, some foundations, endowments, corporations are year end, right? They close their books at end of the year, basically.
that'd be December 31st though. So you have that
December.
between November 1st and December. Like that's where your Giving Tuesday comes, all your big gifts. You getting ready for all that. But you're putting the whole year, you're gonna align yourself to receive all that. So like that's the whole strategy of bringing in partners and doing all the things together, is you're aligning yourself to be present, and we're here to receive every part of the year. So
Yeah.
you want to re-strengthen your bank connections right before Giving Tuesday. If you're not calling on a monthly basis, which I feel like if you're applying for a grant, you should have already talked to that funder at least a couple times prior to applying. So when it comes to for-profit bids like grants, it's not so much as about funders like that, but for nonprofits, that's imperative. Like if you don't have relationships, because I've had funders totally tell me what to put on my applications, so or
Mm.
what to put on.
I mean, this is so aligned with cause of capital and our modality, right? We believe that all business is based on relationships, and all relationships are based on shared experiences. You've been on to one of our shows, the Capital Gain Show, for that purpose exactly, is to establish those relationships, to have a jumping off part. Could you walk the normal person, just an average Joe or someone just getting started in the fundraising nonprofit world? What does it look like to establish a relationship? What should be my first thing that I do if let's say I'm just a single person out there, founded my 403, I have my determination letter, and now I'm making that first entrance into the fundraising world. How does building a relationship start? What does it look like? What does it entail? Give us some tips on how to establish and nurture relationships with funders prior to the application process to have the result.
Find out look through their pictures on their website, see who's showing up in every picture consistently, but it's not leadership, because that's the person you want to get in with first, and then they will introduce you to the rest of the team, as long as they're happy with you. But like
Aha.
that person, they're consistently there. They're not leadership. So you're not looking like you're like, I'm going to go straight to the top and just feel my way in. No, you're going to get in the right way and somebody pull you in. So, like,
What a
that's what I would do. I
striking,
mean,
what a striking insight. So
I
what
don't know.
you actually do is you go after the person who you know or you perceive is the main operations and support person, not
Mhm.
necessarily the top of the organization, like the CEO or the program director in that case. You would
Nope.
go after the people that you know are the actual behind the scenes operators and are managing the actual funds. That is an excellent insight. And then how
Well,
would you
because you
do it?
see
You
them,
would call the office and say what?
say, hey, I am curious as to what your organization does. I just got my 501(c), blah, blah, blah. I would love to see if we align, or like, can we do something together, and just kind of be of service first and then make your ask. But like, normally, like, the invite will come if you are of service. Like, when I called different banks and stuff, I'm looking for volunteers to help my organization. But before that, I'll say, if they say no, we don't have anything right now, okay, do you guys need anything? How can my organization be of service to you? And that's kind of like, that's been like the breadwinner of all my talks, really. Like, that's kind of the one that stands out, because people really, they don't get asked that as funders.
This interaction is to be of value. At Cause of
Mhm.
Capital, we believe in value first, value often. You're watching it tonight, the demonstration. We're putting our time, we've invested our energy into delivering something that we feel will be of value. And yes, that is exactly. There's no wonder you and I align. But obviously, this is not a stabbing in the dark, calling the phone book, with a
No.
randomness to it. You
Nope.
first have to research that
Yep.
this organization, in one way or another, is aligned with what your mission, vision, purpose is, right? You wouldn't be calling, if you had a sobriety charity, you wouldn't be calling youth athletics funders.
You know,
So talk
I feel
about
like
that.
make
Talk
them
about the logic
too.
behind it a little bit.
Um, well, okay, so like I have a way, I do a little bit of research, but like, I look at 990s and stuff like that, and that's like the norm. But I also look at people, like, where they're located, their strategic plans of the cities, who they're already put funding aside for. I align myself with those plans and goals and objectives of the city. So I'm coming at anybody who I talk to, I'm coming at the approach with, like, oh, I'm working with, to meet my city's goals, or to meet whatever, like, the state's goals. It depends on who I'm talking to,
Yeah,
how big I need to be. But like, you partner with yourself first, and then you partner with your state, city, and area, and then kind of move from there. But you look to see who is funding the things that you care about, and the things that you're already problem solving. So things that are already happening. If they're doing the same thing, that's not cause for concern. That's a partner.
yeah,
How can you help them? How can you help them? Because they're
absolutely.
going to help you. And we
Everybody
want
is
them to buy.
overwhelmed, right? So in a lot of ways, helping them do more of what they're already doing relieves the pressure, and then sort of positions you as that partner that can be of assistance first, and then
Yep.
that will eventually grow into a symbiotic relationship. That is
Yep.
amazing. To touch on the reason why you actually go after the local and states, because this is a very eye-opening idea when we were talking about the program. What you do is you're going after city and state in part because they already have their plans published.
Mhm.
Most cities and states of a certain size publish their plans years in advance. Is that true? And then you go into their portals and you find out how would I search for city plans? Do I put city plans, or is there another term to search for?
You can search for comprehensive strategic plan. You can, and they're anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Sometimes they're out to 20 years, which I don't understand, but whatever. It's usually smaller towns. But
Yeah,
if you're going for like a bigger city, they're gonna have that 3 to 5, and they list first couple pages is their budget and what
yeah,
they've already funded, and their goals and objectives. And if you align at all with them, then that you're home.
yeah.
You know,
And by
so.
that, you mean, if, for example, there's a lot of DEI talk in the grant
Mhm.
funding space. So, if at all, in any way, the angle that you take and the way you unpack your mission, vision, purpose aligns with any aspect of their plan and their mission, vision, purpose, that is at least that is an area of
Yeah.
commonality that you can begin the right now in those. Speaking of, getting a square peg into a round hole, sometimes you just don't align. Sometimes you're
Yep.
not enough. And this brings me to another fascinating aspect of your strategy and what you do.
Yeah. My
Something that I believe you came up with. I've never seen it before. I've read the books. I've spoken to the reference librarians. I've taken the seminars and webinars as well, and I've never quite seen something like this. It's the reason why you're known as the queen of collaboration. Has a lot to
Yep.
do with why or how you get to align when your particular niche is either not enough, or is not strong enough, or is not competitive enough, or attractive enough in and of itself. I
Right.
believe, and everyone, please perk up now, because if nothing else, just hearing this tactic, I thought was just, it blew me away. It was genius, because collaboration at its finest is what you are about to hear. And I
Yeah.
never knew that this was possible. I've always taken a one-off approach with all of my clients, in helping them research and write and find grants, and we've been successful doing that. But the success you've had with millions of dollars in just the trailing 12 months, based off of this formula, and what do you have a name for it? But please unpack this collaborative web, that you guys have developed, this tactic and strategy. How does that look? What is it?
Okay, so it's the 135. It's one program, or I'm sorry, one cause, 3 programs, and then 5 partnerships. When you're a new nonprofit, there's so much that you don't know, and there's so much that you're trying to do, and you have every idea and every good intention, and sometimes you're just not big enough for people, like all the Mackenzie Scott grants that just went out, and she was only funding people or nonprofits and organizations that had over $1 million budgets. Like, so us lower, like, newer nonprofits, we were kind of like, well, that sucks. What about us? But if you collaborate and you pull in for-profit businesses, and you pull in people who you align with, and it makes you a bigger across the nation. If you pull in those 5 partnerships and you are strategic about who you're pulling in together, you're hitting every quarter of the state, of the United States. You're hitting everybody. You're pulling everybody in. You're hitting all of their target markets that they're looking for. You have for-profit who's now going to be your sub-grantees. You can actually apply to these grants as a partnerships, like in partnership with all these other organizations, and it makes your organization so much stronger. It's just like when you're creating your board, you're looking for people who have handled large sums of money before. So because if you haven't, so that way you have that piece. It's same type of thing, but you're creating it in a grant like environment. And then you go throughout the year just cycling through that if you're taking lead on a grant that first month, the next month somebody else will take a lead on it. You'll be a sub-grantee on their grant. And so you guys can go after all the different grants that you want to go after, and you're strong enough as letters of support are one thing, being partners is another. So you have that strength behind you. And it really does make a difference when funders see that, because one, they know they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. Somebody else is going to hold them accountable and hold you accountable if they give you all this money. So you can go after those larger grants. You can go after those federal grants. You're not by yourself. You have people that are going to hold you accountable in your own organization as well as with the money. So it's less risk, and it's more reward almost, because you're touching more lives, more people, and you're having a bigger impact as a team.
Amazing. So at the core of this strategy, first of all, is the broader vision. You 10x the vision and the capability of what it is, of the purpose that you're trying to go after or solve for.
Yep.
Much like building a board of directors for any company, which anyone in finance understands that when banks look at your board, that is about 30% of the determination of whether they're going to give you money or not. You can have a bulletproof idea with amazing proof of concept, but if you don't have the management team that the big investment bankers look for, and by the way, they install into your company, a la vis-a-vis what happened to Facebook. As soon as Goldman Sachs took over with the initial raise, they installed presidents and vice presidents and board members, because they wanted to make sure, we're going to give this kid $2 billion. I don't think so. So they installed the board. And so I got it right away when you said that, to build a stronger argument for your cause. But it really struck me, and I had no idea that, could you walk us through how because obviously Cause of Capital was born on the for-profit business services side. And so those are the vast majority of our clients are business owners out there doing the good work of increasing the economic viability of their towns and homes, and increasing jobs and doing all the things that I love them for. But walk us through how a for-business entity can take advantage or benefit and participate in a proposal with a nonprofit, because this is, and I'm not being hyperbolic, this changes the game, Megan. If we can have that partnership across the aisle from profit to nonprofit in a way that it is integrous, beneficial to all involved, and for the greater good, we can actually do good or do well by doing good, which is my favorite mode to wake up to, right? So how
Yeah.
does that look? What is the dynamic exactly? Because I don't want people to walk out of here saying, "Oh, nonprofits and for-profits can mix." What is the mechanism, and how does that look within a proposal? I mean, is there a waterfall clause like there is in finance, where the money goes
No,
here at the top and it's well
kind
defined?
of, yeah.
Okay,
It
walk us
depends.
through
It
that
depends because it depends on
sub-grantee.
what the grant requires. So sometimes you'll have sub grantees and you have to specifically state that those are sub grantees. Other times it's just in your budget because you have it written out. For instance, the UBI program that I'm working on, it has, it has Birth Mom Buddies and Fund Nation are teaming up to do a universal basic income program. I provide credit restoration and funding for financial help for birth moms. And so, and I'm in a very small town, and I partnered with our local nonprofits here. I partnered with the for-profit bank. I partnered with, I'm pulling in partners that are one local, have a longer history than I do here. And so they're stronger in that sense. But then I have my financial literacy courses that I'm teaching. So I'm bringing that to the table for my for-profit business. I'm also bringing in the Birth Mom Buddies aspect of everything, because I want to build something here for them. So it's like I'm pulling all these pieces together, and when you're writing out your budget, you're gonna dole out the money to those organizations. So, and then you also collect your letters of support from the same organizations, and it kind of it boosts your credibility, it boosts everything. That's how you kind of pull everybody in together. Like I know we have 5 organizations, plus the Chamber of Commerce and the town behind us on that one. So it's kind of like it's all the for-profit businesses now are jumping in. They're like, we get in on this.
Yes, yes. And that's one dynamic that has become clear to me, is that from the perspective of the funder, right, of the grant maker. First of all, the one thing that I came away with over the last 4 years that I've really been deep into it is they really want to feel that their money is making as true and deep an impact as possible. Nobody wants to
Yes.
waste their money. Granted, there are enlightened givers who give for the purpose of marketing, right? We've seen that all
Yep.
around through the Google grants, and they're like, "Oh, we'll give you 5,000, but you got to record, 14 Instagram videos of how we're the best thing since sliced bread," and that's okay. That's better than just facetiously advertising. It's an enlightened given, right? Which is enlightened
Yep.
marketing, if you will. But okay, what value prop? So yes, every grant maker, every funder wants their money to count in as
Right.
much as deep an impact as possible. But then another aspect of it, grant makers want to be with winners. At the end of the day,
Yep.
they understand that when there is a name on the side of a hospital, and it's world famous, world class for their specialty and their success in patient care, they want to be in the winning team. And so that
Yeah.
aspect of it is what begins to build that sort of enrollment and participation, like you're experiencing in your town with all of the other for-profit businesses wanting to go in and put
It's
their name
fun.
on it, if you will, and
Yeah.
sponsor you. But what is the value proposition? How do you approach the value proposition if you're a nonprofit organization or even a business?
Um,
What are you proposing to them as their value to take you on and help you, or join forces with you?
well, I mean, it's free money for them too. So it's like, it's like we're all paying our bills at the same time. But
Yes.
other than, I mean, I feel like that's the biggest value proposition. But you're getting also, like, if you're bringing on volunteers as well, like that whole thing too, there's that aspect of that. I'm sure that's not what you were just asking, but that's where my mind went. So sorry.
No, that is
Amazing,
an
you guys.
asset. Absolutely. You're bringing an asset,
But
and you're bringing advocacy,
yeah,
participation, and engagement.
right.
Okay,
And then
so
once you
these are
have those
some good
volunteer hours, that's
ideas.
also money. So you can go after match grants too together. So you're going to transfer that, all translates into more money. But yeah, the value is you're able to, as a for-profit, now go in on a grant, and you can actually take the lead on a grant because you're bringing in these nonprofit partners. So actually you can do both. So you can go both ways with it. But yeah, that allows you to go and be like then that's your credibility, because every time you're doing a grant, you're building credibility, and building credibility, you're building that reputation of, hey, we always are getting our reporting in on time, we're always like have our reports done, our audits done, we're good, like you're every single time. So like when you're doing that, you're building and building and building like a powerhouse, really. So as long as your partners all stay on point with you, and that's kind of your job to kind of make sure that happens,
Those
you're all
relationships
working
again.
together to be bigger and better, and it's really, there's not really stopping anybody after that.
That's
I've found.
amazing. Can you give us a sense of exactly how much money there is out there in terms of availability to fund? I mean,
Man,
do you have any sort of numbers like that, breakdowns?
I do. I believe it is like is for just for-profit businesses from the government in general it was only last year, I think it was 54 billion in
Whoa.
54.2 or something like that billion of just grant funding for for-profit businesses. That had nothing to do with nonprofits and nothing to do with foundations. That was just what was given in grants to for-profits. So they're out there. For overall, it's like, I don't remember the number, but it was huge. I think you were talking about this morning, but it's like a huge number. I don't know. I don't want to tell you wrong, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
I was gonna have it in front of me. I totally forgot about it. So
Yeah.
there's that. Um,
Yeah, and then that just it behooves the small business owner or the person running their nonprofit to really get into this, because the opportunities, not only in an urgent manner from just the end of the fiscal year here coming up on the 30th, there's money that needs to be flushed out off of balance sheets, or it doesn't get replaced for next year. So anyone that's not from, obviously there are people here involved in grants, for many years, and some who are just new to the grants dimension. We're coming on to a place where government programs and state programs that do not purge or end up at a zero at the end of the year. Why is that? Do you have any? I have an idea of why it might be, but why is it that they have to purge the balance sheet?
Because in the budget with the deficit, they'll just take the money back. They'll if you're not going to use it, we'll take that and put it somewhere else.
Right.
But then I don't know if you guys remember with the rent relief grants, how they kept taking it out of the states that weren't using it. So if they hadn't
Yeah.
dispersed it by a certain amount of time, and people were like, we're not even done with it yet. Like we just barely got it going. We had to set up our program and we weren't prepared for this. And it's like they were like, so sorry about your
Yeah.
luck here, and took the money back. And so like there is their responsibility to make sure the money gets spent for what it was allocated for. And if you're not moving, then they don't have time to wait for you.
Yeah.
So they'll
Yes.
take it back, and that
It
sucks.
increases the urgency to get out there, have your proposals ready, do your research,
Yep.
align, and importantly, reach out. Call
Mhm.
these people. At the end of the day, they're humans.
Yes.
I've spoken to many program directors and funders, and they're just the nicest people. I mean, you kind of have to be nice to be in the nonprofit world. Is my impression. So from everyone who I've ever spoken to. I don't really. I mean, there are some prima donnas, but by and large, these people are just amazing, wonderful human beings. That if you respect their time and you communicate with them in a way that they feel seen and heard, not just treat it like a cash register, you
Yeah.
could really develop some relations very quickly and get some of those tips that you mentioned earlier on, where you're saying that the actual directors, uh, they would tell you what to avoid and what to include so as not to forget. It is for everyone to get on board, and the momentum will carry you into
No one
success,
wants to get
because
left
now
out.
no one wants to get left out. That is amazing. And with that, Megan, that was just wonderful. We'll stop there because I'm sure we have some questions from the audience. Basis, you get to ask those burning questions. Those I forgot to say, those type of questions, and you're able to go through the process and not only learn from the experience that Megan has gathered over the last few years, and the successes that she's had, but also all of the learning, all of the innovation, the continuous improvement of the methodology, the continuous improvement and innovation that comes with experience and serving and iterating. There is no price on that. Well, there actually is. Megan runs courses for grant writers and teams, and instead of hiring someone for 50,000, you pay Megan $6 or $7 or $10,000, and she'll train that person that you've chosen within your organization in the capacity to be that funding program director. But if you don't have that upfront, this is the alternative to get it done. Subscribe and get into the program, get into the circuit, learn, deep learning, interaction, asking questions, increasing, rising in your mastery of securing the future for your mission, vision, purpose as the year goes on. I'll stop there. Any final from you, Megan?
Yes, I just want to add also the other value that you're getting put into a community of other of all the other nonprofits and stuff that we have in our little Rolodex of mind of, you know, on
Yes.
hand, that we're partnering people. Like, I'm constantly looking for other organizations to partner with. If you're in a certain state and I know that somebody else that I know is trying to get a grant in a certain state, if you're aligned, that's my brain will do that for you.
Yes.
So
So
I'm looking for that.
we're offering you, by extension, access to the
Amazing.
tribe.
Yeah.
And there is power in numbers, and there is strength in collaboration. And that is really the value here. So we welcome you guys to take advantage, join. The next thing that follows is your evaluation, where we tee up what your interview is going to encompass. We want to know what your mission, vision, purpose is, and then we'll put you through the process of developing and crafting that home run proposal and get you going on your journey of fundraising to bring your mission, vision, purpose, and do my favorite thing in the world, which is to bring ideas from a napkin into the real world in love and integrity. Thank you all for joining us. Any follow-up questions, please